Welcome to Normalize You, your place to help us redefine normal. I'll be your host and your moderator, and I'll be here to help the world understand you and to help you understand the world. I just have two questions for you. What does the word normal mean to you? And how's it going, everyone?
Hey, it's going
What
good.
up?
Going, sir? Doing good.
Welcome back to another episode of Normalize You. And today we are going to talk about normalizing doing things out of generosity.
Doing things out of generosity. Honestly, you gotta basically it's like you doing things not for the sake of doing it, but for the how do I put it? For the sake of somebody else, basically. Instead of trying to find out what benefit you get from it, you're doing it for the need or desire of somebody else.
That's not generous.
I feel like when you're going out of your way to do something for somebody else, like, is when you're doing something generously because you didn't have to, like, you're giving up something, your time, your effort, something to do something for somebody else. And that can come into play in a lot of different ways. I think it's something we need more of in society because I think what happens more so now is that, there is somebody doing something that usually would look generous, but then you realize that they're doing it so they can post about it on social media. Like, for instance, giving a homeless person like money. Like, nobody needs to know you did that, but people will do it when there's a camera pointed at them. That's not the same. That makes it not being generous anymore because you're only doing it because of how good it makes you look versus it might have just been the nice thing to do that day.
All right, so before I move on, Mike, you had a retort to Darion's. What exactly was that?
Also, basically, it's like what Darion said is the exact opposite of what I said. And it helped me say it was like unprovoked kindness is generosity, where it's like you just did it because you thought of it, or you have the knowledge that, oh, this is the right thing to do, and it just happens. That's just generosity. But if you know that somebody is asking for a favor and it was pre-planned, like a pre-planned idea, and then you remembered, it's not really the same. Like, even though you did it out of kindness of them asking, it's just like somewhere down the line you're expecting something in return other than just, all right, you did it just because you know that this is the right thing to do, you know that they're going to feel good about it, and you know that you should be able to move forward with the gesture to not be, thrown in anybody's face about it.
No, I wasn't saying doing it at the request of anybody. I was saying like just because you know that it's something that's going to benefit. Not, I was saying basically doing it for their benefit, not yours. That's what I was saying.
Right, but does like, and it goes to like the whole helping a homeless person. That's like me going out into the world and give a homeless person $2 today, right? And I see that homeless person tomorrow, like, hey, yo, you got that $2 for me? Like, you see what I'm saying?
That's literally what I'm saying.
No, continue. If he doesn't. So how is it that y'all can clear up exactly what it is? Because as I stated before, this platform is about helping everyone else understand what the middle ground is. Like, not necessarily saying that you have to agree, but like help someone else to understand what you're saying. So what is it about Mike's argument that he's having towards your perspective that you think he's not getting?
Basically, I'm saying not needing any particular reason for doing it for somebody else. Like you don't have a ulterior motive. You're literally just doing it for the benefit of somebody else. Like you're eliminating you from the equation of the actions that you're doing. Like there's no benefit towards you whatsoever. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, they're like that. That's not how you worded it the very first time you said, or just it didn't hit the ear the way you said it. You with the way you said it. I just said it.
You know, Darion always over elaborate what he say. He's too smart for dumb conversations sometimes.
I tried not to.
But no, that was a good thing. So it's like, and that's kind of what I'm saying, where it's like sometimes there aren't gonna be agreements here, and it's best instead of just moving on, or anybody can, and even if you get a little bit fired up about it, that's cool. I'm not saying it's content because that's not worth the friendship, but at the same time, it's content because it shows that everybody's not on the same page. And instead of just flowing through the conversation saying, "Oh, hey, I don't agree with you," and that just being the end of it, why? Like what, even if we leave the conversation of us still not agreeing with each other, like at least it'll be a better understanding of like why you think the way you think. Have you ever found yourself doing something for someone solely for the reason of you just being around?
There's been plenty of times where I found myself entirely too available for other people, just not really taking time for myself, I guess. And yeah,
It's a weird ending, but I'm more so talking about like if you're in the area, like let's say someone wants something done and then like you know that the people wouldn't necessarily ask or they wouldn't necessarily ask you, but you find yourself doing something just for the sake of you being nearby. Like, hey, can you run to the store for me? Can you do X, Y, and Z? But you did it just because you not necessarily did it, but you were just asked to do it.
Yeah, it's like when you first come home. Like you ever come home from a long day, and as soon as you walk through the door, somebody was like, "Oh, you right on time."
Yeah.
It's like
Way
something
too
like
often.
that. And
Way too
that's
often.
only thing I got on that. Like that is inconsiderably annoying.
um, all right. All right, well, um, is there anything that you consider like is there anything that you classify as something you do for someone just out of the act of kindness? Like, is there something that you do out of the act of kindness? Like, in the sense of like, opposed to just being there because you're there?
You know, one thing I tend to do sometimes is if I'm in the grocery store or if I'm in any store that's selling, you know, food, and I know that there I see something that my friend would like or my partner would like or my family member would like, they don't have to necessarily ask me to get it. I just grab it, come home or go wherever they are and be like, you crossed my mind when I saw this, here you go. And that could be as simple as a bag of chips, or, oh, I know they really like this meal from the freezer section, whatever it may be. Or if my friends in the neighborhood and I know that they like just came off a second job, I might be like, hey, did you eat? Bro, just stop at the house. I've already cooked. Like, here's some food. I don't have to tell you I've cooked. I don't have to tell you that I'm in the store. Do you want anything? You know, but I think that's one of the ways in which I show kindness because I'm like, bro, everybody needs to take care of themselves and eat. And my friends or my family members are the group of people who tend to forget to eat because they're so busy doing 30 million other things.
yeah, like in my building, I know there's plenty of people where they see you coming, they won't hold the door for you or they won't hold the elevator. But it's like with me, it doesn't matter whether you man, woman, child. If I see you coming, I'm gonna hold the door for you. If I know you a bit of ways away and I'm getting on the elevator, by the time you get there, I know I could already be on my way up, but I know you're trying to catch it. I'll sit there and hold the elevator for you, like, and it's not like I'm looking for anything out of it. It's like, yeah, I mean, I'm right here, so I might as well.
So I'm glad you said something about the elevator, because that's actually a perfect point of what I'm making. Like, you ever been on the elevator and you speed walk I mean, you're not doing it intentionally, but you speed walk to the elevator and you just jamming the door close button just for the sake of doing it. But have you ever like made eye contact with somebody before you hit that jam door close button? Like that's pretty much what I'm talking about, where it's like you're doing it. If no one sees you do it, you're just slamming the door shut. But if someone sees you about to slam the door shut, now you feel like you're more inclined to be like, oh, let me be patient and wait till this person gets on the elevator versus me just jamming the button as much as I can to get the door closed.
I mean,
Um, oh my bad.
it's occasionally I've actually done that. Well, I actually will meet eye contact with them, like eye to eye contact. I'm like, yeah, well, too many people. Let's say too many people ain't holding for me. I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I don't feel like holding for nobody this time. Next thing I know, I see somebody at the door trying to get in while I'm waiting in the elevator. I'm like, you ain't get here fast enough.
That is what you call a negative domino effect, but you're absolutely right though. Um, so for me, I've actually been in a rush to an elevator and turned around jamming that button, but I've never looked up. So as soon as I look up, right before the doors shut, I made eye contact with somebody. So once I get to my level, my friendly gesture is I send it back down to that level that they were at so they can get the elevator because I could have held it, but I was like, oh, it's too late. So I just send it right back to them.
If I'm jamming that elevator close button, that's it. That's over. Once I press that button the first time, if you didn't get to me before that, that's it. Because what if I'm in a rush? Like at that point, I've weighed being nice over what do I have to do, and if what I got to do is more important, it doesn't matter if anybody else would have thought it's more important. If to me in that moment, it's more important for me to get where I'm going. All right, cool. Because once I hit that button, it doesn't matter how many times I press it. Like if I've already hit it, I'm not trying to save the door for you. I've already committed.
I mean, it's fair. Go ahead, Mike.
I think that's actually very important though, because it shows the consciousness of a decision that you thought about it already, but it's just like, how much time am I willing to think about being kind to somebody before I'm not being kind to myself with time after that? So I do get why it's just like, yo, if I hit that button and you're not there by like that second or third time, like I'm letting them shut.
Okay, so I'm going to find a way to ask this question, but I want to ask it, and at the same time, I'm going to give an example. Okay, so none of us would deem pushing the button. Well, I can't say none of us. I'm asking. Would you deem like jamming the door close button in someone's face like a negative, like I guess response?
I think it could be because, like, if I'm jamming that button and I'm staring you in your face as I'm hitting that button, and there's clearly nobody else on the elevator with me, like, it's clear I just didn't want you on the elevator with me. That's a bit ignorant. But like, if I had already hit the button and you just happen to come up and the door's already closing, I'm not purposely doing that to you as an individual, but like I got places to go. So I think it could be I think that depends on how the person's doing it. Because if you waited till that person started walking towards the elevator to start hitting the button, that's kind of petty.
Like that scene from Liar Liar when the receptionist was coming to the elevator and he was in a hurry. But again, remember the next person off the elevator was that person he done shut out. And that's the person he needs to talk to get to where he needs to go. So it's just like, you never know what can happen just with the elevator. But I do agree with Taylor. If I'm already on there by myself, chances are I might not want you on there just because I know that you coming in. Like it really don't matter who you are. It's just like I don't think it's really a negative or positive response because the initial button jam is you responding to yourself. Like I want to close these doors so this elevator can go to my level.
Yeah, I actually agree with Taylor too. 'Cause she actually said exactly what I was about to say. Because I mean, if I'm already on the elevator, like I might hold it, but 9 times out of 10, if I'm already pressing the button, I'm just already pressing the button. Very seldomly will I just do it while I'm staring you in the face or knowing you're trying to get them. Like, oh, I'm just being petty. So yeah, it's definitely a negative to it if you're doing it after you see them. But if you were already doing, it's like I was already in motion.
This is the first time y'all both agree with me on the same point. We're gonna mark this day down.
Well, I don't agree with you. No,
that's fine.
I'm joking.
I ain't worried about you. I said them too.
So at the same time, it's like I understand like how people could just want their space. So in a sense, it is a negative response because you are if you're looking at someone, they're like, because the same way you guys are saying, like, I could have been having something important to do. You don't know what that person was going to do. Now, if somebody's like casually walking, because I ain't gonna lie, I will hold the door for somebody, but if you're like 80 yards away, oh, I'm letting that jump fly. And I'm talking about like a regular swinging door in the restaurant or something. Like, I'm not about to stand here all day. And then I've been in situations where I'll be like, I'll hold the door and, oh, yes, oh, go ahead. Oh, thank you, sir, thank you. Oh, yeah, no problem. And 16 people start walking through, whoever next, hold the door. I'm not standing here all day holding this door. But I wouldn't view that necessarily as a negative due to the fact that, like you said, you like to be by yourself. But I can understand how people can view it as negative because like I said before, if you make eye contact, then you've obviously like established me being here. So dang, bro, you can like hold the door for me for 2 seconds. But like you said, the door's already closing. I'm not about to slam it open because I've seen enough elevators like have some type of some type of malfunction where it's like I'm not risking anything to just not doing that. But in the same sense, let's up the stakes a little bit. Oh, go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
No, you could have finished. I was just letting you know I was going to
No, I was
elaborate on
done.
what
But
you
if you have
said.
more, I mean, but in order for I'm moving on. So if you have something to say, then go ahead, just say it.
That was
Now.
just a question. It's a question to what you
Go
said.
for it. Go for it.
So are you saying like do you think it's negative because we're simply in public? Like, because it's a public space, so it's deemed as negative because everybody's essentially allowed in that area, like the elevator or that restaurant door. Like, is
Well,
that why it's looked at as negative, or it's just
yeah,
the
yeah, and
gesture
no.
itself?
So like I said, even if just because you're in public doesn't give you the right to my space. Because at the end of the day, personal space is still a personal space thing. It doesn't matter if we're in a position of like you said, a public restaurant. Just use a public in general. Like, yeah, we're in the elevator. It's a public property. You have the right to be here. But if I beat you to this enclosed environment and there's enough space between me and you that me closing the door in front of you doesn't cause any type of like negative action or negative response or negative emotion, then I'm closing the elevator door because I'd rather have the space to myself. I have nothing against being in the elevator with 6, 7 other people because I'm okay with that. But at the same time, I love my personal space. So no, as long as it doesn't interfere with you going out of your way to be negative. But if you just have the time and the space to do it, go for it. Same thing with driving. Like, if we're driving, a lot of people don't understand the 2-car rule. Well, technically it's 1-car rule. And the 1-car rule is you and the person in front of you has to have 1 car in between y'all. But everybody doesn't understand that. And they think, oh, that space must be for me. Let me just merge over. And I'm like, yeah, you can, but you shouldn't because that's dangerous. So no, you don't have to merge in front of you. I don't have to let you in front of me due to the fact that I'm taking advantage of this space. But at the same time, it's like if there's nothing else and there's no way around, like cars are bumper to bumper, but you acknowledge this person, you're not necessarily a bad person for not letting them over because some people be like, I got somewhere to go too. And you seen this merge lane 8 miles back. Why are you trying to get in front of me now? But sometimes you can just be like, okay, you can see the person miss their turn. Maybe they're frantic in the car. They're like, man, I missed it. Because I've been times where I've legitimately misread my maps and was like, man, I wish somebody let me over. But, and like you said, like, and the funny thing is actually you said it like earlier, where it's like, I can't remember exactly what you said, but it's a revolving situation. You create negativity with negativity. And I use the same like information when it comes to video games. You've heard me say this. We're trying to stop people from camping. We get mad about people camping. So how do we combat camping? We camp.
We can.
Like, so people nowadays, they don't put their turn signal on because they're afraid that once they see you put your turn signal on, you block them in so they can't get in front of you. Now y'all mad that nobody puts their turn signal on because they don't want you to see that they're trying to get in front of you. Because even me, like, I'm a great driver, but
I
there have
thought
been
it a
times I've
negative
seen
domino
myself on a
effect.
back
Oh, my bad.
road. No, you're good. It's been times I've seen myself on a highway road, and it's enough room for me to fit in between somebody's car, and I'll put my turn signal on, and they'll see it and they'll speed up. So
Speed
I'll be
up.
like, okay, 5 minutes down the road, cool. I'm not gonna put my turn signal on. I'm just gonna merge over. Now you don't know I'm merging over, and that sucks because that's a revolving scenario. That at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, you have to make it worse before it's like we keep getting worse and worse and worse, and eventually it's gonna cause an accident.
No, that makes sense.
So, and like I said, moving to a different situation, like, because the elevator is more of a neutral type of
Yeah.
conflict. So let's go into a more, I guess, a deeper conflict.
Oh.
You're walking behind somebody and you see them drop money.
Yeah. Me,
Hold
this
on,
actually
hold on.
happened.
Hold on. I gotta give the scenario first.
Okay.
You're first in line, so speak your mind. But you're behind somebody, they drop some money. You pick up the money, right? Do you like? I don't necessarily have a question for this. I'm just giving a scenario, and y'all can respond to it. There's two different endings. The first ending is you give them the money. You give that person back the money. And then the second ending is you put the money in your pocket. But the part where you pick up the money, what if someone saw you? Do you now go give that person back their money? Or do you just put it in your pocket? Don't say nothing, Mike, because I didn't want to go first. I do want to let him go ahead and go first.
Honestly, I'm gonna be real with you. If the person is too far away or I didn't see them, yeah, I'm gonna keep it regardless of whether the person saw me pick the money up or not. Now, the only reason I say if they're too far away, that's because like, let's say I'm trying to yell out to them and they can't hear me. Like, I'm not about to just chase after you and be like, "Hey, you got some money." But if you're like close enough for me to actually get your attention, listen, I'm gonna give you that money regardless of if somebody else is watching me or not. And I'm just being honest.
If someone was that far enough away from me where I got to yell out there, drop the money, they weren't close enough in the first place. Like, how fast were they running? You seen Bolt dropping that money?
To
I got a pretty.
elaborate more on your scenario. Oh, my bad, Darian.
No, you good, Mike.
But it's like, this is my thing, right? Because I used to do this. If I saw somebody drop money, and coincidentally and ironically, it's always been around other people, I would never pick it up. I would sit back to see if anybody else is going to do what I'm thinking. Because I'm thinking, I should tell this person they dropped their money. But I already know all eyes are on me, right? So I used to do this thing where I was like, I go, nah, they're going to judge me. They already think I'm going to steal it because of what I look like. I used to just judge myself based off of society. And then after a while, I would go, "Hey, you," and I'll describe the person who dropped the money. And I'll be like, "Yo, you dropped so-and-so." Like I would describe that specific person that dropped it so nobody else can go for it, including me.
I would say that, I believe in just scenario, the person is still close enough to me, like they just dropped it in front of me. So I'm giving the money back. I don't want it. You dropped it, blessings come. I'll get my blessing later. I'm not gonna keep it. But to be fair, my initial thought process was Darion's as well, because I have seen somebody drop money in front of me, and then next thing I know, they halfway down the block because they just got longer legs. And it's like, not even trying to be funny, but if you're that far away, no matter how much I want it to be a kind gesture, I don't care who's watching me. Yeah, I'm about to pocket that because I'm not. There's not even an attempt to make the kind gesture. But like, matter of fact, I used to do this in high school. Somebody dropped something. If I yell out and be like, "Yo, you dropped your money. You might be missing something." 9 times out of 10, the person that had money falling out their pocket is gonna be like, "Hold on, wait a minute." You see everybody start doing that thing where they pat their pockets and stuff. So it's like, I'm gonna give them money back because if it was meant for me, they would have already been in my pocket.
I feel like that's a bit of a weird subject. As much as it seems like it's straightforward, I think it's a weird subject because there's so many different things that factor into what could happen between the person picking up their money and you pocketing the money. Because just because somebody pockets the money doesn't necessarily mean they were plotting on stealing your money. I've been times where I've seen somebody like I may go around my job. This is when I was like younger, so I used to work in like a warehouse or something, and there'd be like a $5 bill on the ground. Don't say somebody dropped their money because everybody in that grandmother gonna put their hand up. So I would say, did you drop something? And if nobody answers or everybody answers, at that point it's going in my pocket. I'm sorry, but it's like I'm not stealing from anybody because everybody is saying something. Unless you can prove to me exactly what it is that you lost. Because you can tell me, hey, I lost $9.36. And I'm like, 2, 3, 4, 36. All right, okay, it's yours. Because that's the exact amount you dropped. But if you just out here, I'm like, you just want to drop some money and everybody, yeah, it's going in my pocket. And at that point, because at that point, I'm not trying to create conflict. I'd rather everybody be mad at me than somebody be mad at somebody else for something that they didn't do. Or it's not worth it. And then on top of that, about the chasing somebody down situation. I have had a moment where I have grabbed money from the ground and I've seen somebody have it. I will do a light jog for a bit of a distance. Like if you're like, especially if it's like an older person, I'm like, a lot of people, first of all, if you're still carrying cash, 9 times out of 10, you need that cash because everybody don't carry cash. It's 2024. But so if I see somebody drop that cash, I'm gonna do a bit of a jog to a certain extent to try to catch you. But at the same time, if I'm running too far, at this point, it's gas money for my legs. I'm putting that back in my pocket. You know what I'm saying? I made it this far. Look, I tried. And at the same time, I give you 2 more scenarios. There was a time when me and Mike went to the movies one time. And I remember that day that $100 bill slapped me in my head, like literally slapped me in my head.
Hey,
I looked around. I was like, ain't nobody looking for no money. I don't know who it came from because at that point it flew out it was like
Yeah.
literally the wind carried it over. So
mhm.
I didn't have a host for that money. So at that point it was my money. Because I'm like, there's nobody around, nobody's looking at me, nobody's looking for it. At that point, it's mine. Like, that's not necessarily a selfish act because I don't know who it belongs to. Who am I gonna give it to? The toll booth attendant? That's stupid. And then another scenario I had where, and you and Darion and Mike, I know about this. So there was a long time ago, somebody dropped, I think it was like $100 in my car. I remember the $100 in my car for like 6 months because I couldn't figure out who it belonged to.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
would call everybody like every week, like, y'all sure y'all didn't lose any money? And it didn't go. I was hungry. I needed gas. I was working at I think I was working at JCPenney, like straight out of high school. So it's
Mhm.
like, I didn't have any money. So I was like, man, I really need this money, but it's not my money. And the fact that if it was dropped in my car, I only let people in my car that have been in my car multiple times and that are going to be in my car a lot more. So if it was
Right.
dropped in my car, it was dropped by somebody I know and I care about. So I didn't touch the money until 6 months later, where I found out literally nobody claimed it. At that point, I guess whoever owned it forgot about it. Or I must have had a
Yeah.
falling out with somebody, and at that point, that money's mine. But those are situations in my head, and to me, where I feel like I didn't do anything wrong because I at least attempted to correct the situation.
Yeah.
So, we all have talked about Maryland. Did you guys ever do the same type of thing with like the old bus passes? Like if you saw somebody drop their bus pass on the metro?
Like the paper one or the smart trips?
No,
the
the
paper
paper one.
Oh yeah,
Like-
I'm
like-
keeping that one 100%.
Would
That's not
you
even
would you
nobody.
keep it or would you try to give it back?
I have
No, give
literally
it back
never
to
caught the
who?
bus.
We on the
So I
metro,
can't even be in
look,
this
look.
conversation.
But honestly, but I'm a respond this
You
because as
understand what
much
I'm
as I
saying
took,
though? Because bus pass, that was like people's way home. That was like
That's
whatever.
true. That's true.
but
That
also it
wasn't a
depends
flex. I
on the
legit have never, like, I'm a walker, but I will walk from state to
yeah.
state if my legs will not like be exhausted. So it's not that I'm flexing on anybody because I never rode the bus. I just don't ride the bus. I walk everywhere.
It's
But
okay.
no, I would say it depends on the I'm gonna say the era or the generation of bus passes because we grew up when it was 120, it was 110, right? By the time I left Maryland, it was at 225 for the same bus. For the P12, the V14, like it was 225. And I was like, bro, y'all better stop paying attention to what peak hours are. Because when smart trips came out, you better learn how to maneuver. Because that 225 can get you the whole day with a smart trip. But that 110 can get you from 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Like straight up with the paper she talking about. Like that first one, oh yeah, I'm sun up to all stores closing. Like I'm home.
So like if you saw somebody drop like either they smart trip or the paper one from back in the day, are you picking it up?
The
Back in
paper
the
one
day,
I'm
hold
keeping.
up.
That's my
I got
trip. I give
this,
it up.
Mike. I got this. We used to catch the metro. I mean, not metro. We used to catch, well, technically it's metro, the train. We used to collect smart trips like it was gold, so we could combine them all into one card. How much you got? I got like 35 cents. All right, bet this one got $1.10 on it. What you trying to do? Like,
Yeah.
For real.
so same thing is like it. so real quick, it's nothing wrong. Like everybody has intrusive thoughts, where it's like somebody walk around with something hanging out of their pocket. Of course, in my back of my head, but not me because I'm not that type of person. But it could be in the back of your head, like, oh my God, I hope they drop it. Oh my God, I hope they drop it. That doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. What makes you a bad person is when you act on these impulsive thoughts, intrusive thoughts. Like that's what makes you a bad person. But if somebody dropped their smart trip and like you said, it's Metro. So if the train door slammed before I can catch up to you, or I can't run to the metro station because somebody probably spilled something slippery and I might fall on the track, or like it's too many people around, or the fact that I've literally tried to give people attention and they ignore me just for the simple fact that look at what I look like. I'm like, all right, cool. So that $3 you got in your card, thank you. I appreciate it. That's been a blessing.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it's not necessarily that you're a bad person because you act on these. Because you think them, it's a bad when you act on them, especially when you plot on these things happening. Because I've legit seen somebody have money in their pocket, and I will go up to them and politely tap them if that's the type of environment we're in, or I might say something to you, excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am, your money kind of like, and I won't say it out loud. I'll just say, excuse me, and I'll pat that side so they could tuck it back in out of security. But no, like, I've definitely taken smart trips from people. Like smart
The
trips.
reason I asked that though, because even though we were talking about money, like you said, cash isn't something a lot of people carry around anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But like for all of us that used to be riding Metro, them smart trips and the bus pass meant something. Like, so in my head, it was like up in the stakes in a bit, because if it's something that matters to you and something you use it regularly, again, we're not all using cash like we used to. So the cash might not be important to you anymore because you might have like $30 in the cash app, where extra funds are coming from. But them smart trips, them bus passes, that was the only way you could get around. That could get you home for the next 3 days.
And you know how you was balling back in the day? You know how you could tell somebody balling? You know how the smart trips, they had a panda bear on it?
Mm-hmm.
You had the jump with the flowers on it, or colors or something, or custom one. You was balling.
That had the cherry blossoms on it. If you had that cherry blossom,
$5 to put $5 on the card. So you had to drop like $10 to get a $5 card.
Yeah.
If you had cherry blossoms, you had $30 on that card, and you renting around DC regularly because you went through LaFont Plaza at peak hours.
And you had your thing in that little what they call a little clear thing. Yeah.
Yeah, like a smart trip or Fed card. If I see you drop it, I'm actually going to try and get it to you. But I mean, if it's unclaimed, I will scavenge that like crazy.
Yeah.
Or one of them transfers that wasn't stamped. Oh, them transfers better than Fed cards because now you don't even got to pay for it.
Correct, because I'm getting through the toll. It's just a matter of if I'm paying for it or not. And if I'm stuck and I ain't got no money on my Fed card and you not letting me through, Mr. Toll Booth Operator, well, you must run a 4-3 flat because I'm getting over this line. You're not catching me.
No, for real. Quick story to elaborate on everything and get back to the kind gestures, right? Dariana, I don't recall if you were there in that, but we all went out, and matter of fact, Dariana, you were there. We was waiting to go out, and we said, all right, we're gonna go to the pizza spot in Crystal City, right? It was underground. And this homeless guy that we often see, right? We often see him because we were heading to Pentagon City. We said we're going to stop and get some pizza, right? And this homeless guy, quote unquote, comes up and says, hey, do y'all have any change? This, that, and the third, blah, 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 right? And Jeff says no because one, Jeff is eating. Don't disturb that man while eating. Darion says no because Darion was using his to get home. I said, yeah, I probably got like some change on me, just because I want this guy out of our faces at this point, right? In the midst of this guy pretending that he needed money because he's out here panhandling. That's what he's doing. He drops a wad of cash because he's asking for 75 cents. So keep in mind, he's right in front of me. So what I do is, because I have a menu, right? We got the restaurant at this point. I have a menu. I block his vision from seeing that he dropped this wad of cash. Because now I realize that this man is a con artist and he's just collecting people money, and he got more money than all of us right now at this table. Right? Except for Jeff, because Jeff was going to get shoes. And we was trying to figure out if I was going to have the 25 or 30 to spare at the end of this trip so Jeff can get these shoes. This man coincidentally dropped $35. That's what it was. He dropped $35. And And he walked off, and I said, "Hey, Jeff, step on that." He said, "Step on what?" I flashed the menu so Jeff can see. And Jeff was like,
I remember that.
Jeff put his foot down and said, "Oh," Jeff wiped his head, was like, "Yo, leave."
I remember
'Cause
that.
we know,
Yeah,
we know
the only reason why real quick, finish the story, but the only reason why I know that's 100% true story, not saying anything else is
Yeah.
true, is because the first thing I always say when somebody do something crazy is what? Leave.
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 Jeff, look, Jeff was like, "Oh," because Jeff had just ate his last
I think I
bite.
threw my food away.
Now you finished it because remember you got one more pizza, and Jeff was like, "Oh, yo, leave."
That
And then
man
when
don't
Jeff
be,
got up,
be
at the
caught
same
in
time,
it.
Jeff
He's not
slid
gonna
his
catch
foot
you.
back. And then remember the dude came back. We saw it, right? We passed the dude, and dude was like, and we heard dude say, what did he say? He's like, "Man, I just dropped a stack of cash." And we was getting ready to hop on the train. We saw dude, and Jeff was like, "Hey, cuz, you was looking for this? Good look." And I was like, "Karma." And Jeff got him some fly shoes the rest of the day. We're just like, but the moral of that story is when we were already choosing to be kind to this man because we assumed he was less fortunate because he presented himself politely. He excused himself because we were down eating. Like, we were in a peaceful, calm environment. This dude was raggedy, but he had more money than me and Darion put together at the time, right?
One thing is, you can
We
clear that
was
story
just going to
up.
hang with our boys and
Yeah.
travel with him to get some shoes, and we was going to get food. That was it.
Correct. And to the people that's thinking, oh, maybe that's the money you collected for that day. You took the money. No, we've seen this man in a car before. Like, we've seen him in a
Right.
car. We've seen him walking to nice restaurants. We've seen this man. That's not the first time we've seen that man.
Right.
That was the first time he caught us and asked us for something.
Yeah.
So I don't take money. I'm not a thief. I never stolen anything from anybody a day in my life. Never even stole gum or a quarter from my mother. Never. It's just a matter of like, that was one of them situations where it's like, I took it upon myself to, even though I went to the store with the motive, I had a real reason why I was going to the store to buy some shoes. And at that point, I was at that stage when I was like, I didn't come from a lot. So it was like, the only time I bought shoes is when my shoes had my toe hanging out of it. So because every time I go to the mall, I would throw away the shoes I'm currently wearing and buy new shoes, right?
Yep.
So I'm going to the store to buy these shoes, and I did a kind gesture out of you. I mean, for you, give you some money. And then I've seen you later on, like not even later on, but pretty much that same day, get to a car. I think before he even came back asking about that money, before we got on the train, we saw him doing something that was super suspicious. I'm just like,
Yep.
that ain't it. Because the first reaction for me is to give you your money back. But when I grab the money and look at
Yeah.
you, I'm looking like, this man came out of every store, did all this stuff. Nah, bro, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
No, sir.
And what
We're not
made
doing
me
that.
notice, because he was fidgety while waiting on me to see if I got change. Because I knew I had change. I was just like trying to make sure I was only going to give him what he asked for. He asked for about 75 cents.
Yeah, and for the people that's watching from countries or cities where they don't have homeless problems, some people are naturally homeless. Not naturally, excuse me. Some people are actually homeless, where it's like they legit feel on hard times. They've been through some stuff, circumstances didn't line up, so they're homeless. But if you ever been to DC or like most time in PG County, there's a lot of scammers out here. A lot of scammers, a lot of hustlers. You will find people that will ask you for money. You'll give them $1, and they'll pull out a wad bigger than your head and wrap that dollar around it and put it back in their pocket. I've seen people do it. Follow them long enough, you'll see them get in a car that's better than yours, and then they'll drive off somewhere. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody, because some people, they legitimately are homeless, but it's like, you come to DC, you're gonna run into a lot of people like that. Like, so I'm not in DC, but you know what I mean. But
Right.
that's where I pretty much grew up at too. So that's one of the situations where we were able to read the situation and appropriate the response. So yeah, so be mindful of that too.
This man came back with a damn
With a
truck.
sippy cup.
Why you came back with?
We need a sippy cup or food sponsor. All right, send them our way. And send y'all questions and stuff our way too. Send your questions, your responses, whether you agree with us, whether you disagree with us, send that all in the comments, in the social medias at the end, to our email, normalizeU@gmail.com. Let's get it. Let's get these conversations moving. What do you find normal? What do you not find normal? What do you think should be normal? What do you think shouldn't be normal? Let's get these comments moving. The more information y'all give to us, the better the quality of our episodes go. So moving on. Um, do you think it makes a person seem bad if they are caught in the act in which made them change their, I guess, their action of what they're intended to do?
Do you mean like if I see somebody picking up money and then they look at me and then they stop and try to put it back down or something because they noticed I was watching them?
Mm-hmm. Solely for the fact that you changed their behavior just because you got caught.
I'm not gonna say necessarily that's bad, but because I mean there could be situations where it's not, but also it's like, bro, just stick to what you were gonna do. Like, what does me looking at you have to do with anything? Like, be who you were gonna be, whether I was looking or not. And I think that actually speaks more to somebody's integrity because it's like it should all your actions shouldn't change just because you notice somebody was watching.
Yeah, like I wouldn't necessarily say they're bad, but it shouldn't take for my presence to change your actions. If you were already going to do something, just do it. Not saying that, oh, to condone negative behavior, but if you were already going to do it, if I were here and I'm just some random person you don't know, stick to the role you was about to play. I mean, of course,
That's my thing.
like you about to
Sorry,
commit like a
Daniel.
crime, that's different. But you about to do some petty, do you?
But that's the thing too. I've seen people who have been starting to like go find somebody to return money, and then they notice when their friends are watching, and then they stop and like pocket the money. And it's like, if you was gonna do something nice, why are you changing just because people notice? Like don't try to keep an image with everybody. Whatever you was gonna do, just do it. And that's why I said it. I don't think it necessarily makes somebody a bad person because it could be they were about to do something positive, and then they just freaked out because people were watching. And it's like, but don't let that stop you. Whatever you were about to do, just follow through.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that, mainly because it's like it's don't stop because don't like you basically judge yourself because of your own company. Like you put yourself in peer pressure because you know that your people in that group might have pocketed, but if you know that you were going to return it, go ahead, continue to be kind or be friendly. Because if you know that somebody in your group does the opposite, your kind or friendly gesture might change their perspective the next time that presents itself.
So do you think it would like wear your conscience if you were to do something to someone and you, I guess two scenarios. If you did something to someone and you went through with that thought, regardless of whether a person saw you or not. Okay, go ahead, Mike.
Um, Wait, repeat the question.
Do you think do you
My
think it'll
bad.
weigh on your conscience? Like, do you think it'll weigh on your psyche if you like? I was gonna ask it in two different parts, but you can answer it either way you want to answer. Where it's like, if a person catches you or if a person doesn't catch you, how do you think that weighs on your mental like fortitude? Yeah, that was a little bit too
Um,
dark, too deep.
no, no,
Your
I get
psyche.
what you're saying though, because that's my answer. Almost like my answer kind of flip flop, but I'm gonna say no because I believe that people should want to remain their authentic selves, whether or not they're being watched or or not during any act of kindness. It's like even when you're by yourself, you ever hear somebody go, "Hey, God's watching." Like whether or not your beliefs are or whatever you serve, anybody that's watching, whatever I don't know, whatever you believe or whoever you serve is watching or not, like continue to be yourself because if you believe that you're doing something good or if you know that you're doing something bad, follow through with it because you don't know the outcome of your gesture.
I think it's like, it wouldn't weigh on my conscience if I knew I was doing something that I felt was kind or in the right. You know, sometimes it may weigh on your conscience if you feel like you knew that was the wrong thing, but you talked yourself into it type of thing. And like, okay, how is this gonna come back on me? Like not so much the fact that you did it, but okay, what are gonna be the consequences might weigh on you. Um, and I think that's fair because in all honesty, you know, if if you're worried about the consequences, that means you recognize what your action was, and you can at least internalize and grow from that, even if you know you did something crazy. Because there's a lot of people who will be like, you know what, bump it. Today I'm being an evil person, and they know they're choosing to do that. Now, at the end of the day, it might weigh on their conscience because that's not their general demeanor. But for that day, they just got fed up and they needed everybody to show, like we talked about on a different episode, that their kindness wasn't weakness. So they reverted to what other people were doing to them. And that might weigh on your conscience for a second because that's not your general demeanor. But that doesn't necessarily make you a bad person because I think that's enough. That's so much self-awareness to be able to recognize that. Because that could change you for forever. But
My bad. I didn't know you were still talking.
no,
Honestly, I'm gonna say no, only for the reason being, for one, if I was doing something that I know was wrong anyway, that means the fact that I've already decided to do it means I'm already okay with whatever consequences that are about to happen. Now, that doesn't mean I'm condoning bad behavior, but if I was already doing something that I know was going to come with consequences, it's not really going to weigh bad on me. Now, regardless of whether I'm being watched or not. Now, if I was to intentionally try to do something good and it seemed like I was, and to somebody else it looked like I could have been doing something bad, yeah, I'm going to do whatever I feel is necessary to keep doing whatever task that I know was good. But once it becomes more of a hassle than what it's worth, like, okay, well, that's that situation, just let it be. And if I look bad in somebody else's eyes, well, then that's their problem.
Before you go, Jeff, I'm gonna shorten my first response just by saying I don't believe that the truth should even build a guilty conscience if you know that you're being honest.
You can say more if you have more to say.
No, that was it.
All right. I was more so going to kind of counteract what Darian was saying. Um, do you like? I understand what you're saying when it's like, there's nothing wrong with what you say. I'm just saying, like, it comes to a different perspective. Like, you can say that you are already in motion, I guess, to say, I was going to do something wrong. So if I made that decision to do something wrong, I then won't feel bad. I don't agree with that because I can make a conscious decision knowing that the bad decision I'm about to make will better me, but that doesn't mean I still won't feel bad. Like, let's say somebody like breaks in your house and you got to respond with the utmost violent situation you could possibly respond with. Just because you had to do that, you don't think you're gonna feel bad about it? Like, even if it was me against you, one of us has to come out of this situation in a better response to the situation. Just because I responded the way I had to respond, just for the betterment of my household, that doesn't mean that's not gonna weigh on my conscience. Just because I plan on stealing something from a grocery store doesn't mean I won't feel bad about stealing something from a grocery store. Like, look at, like, even though it's a movie, look at Aladdin. Like, he stole stuff because he had to, but he still felt bad that he had to do it. But at the same time, he had to do it because he was a street merchant. Well, street rat, what they're calling him. But you know what I mean? Like, it's sometimes just because you did something and you made the conscious decision to do it, that doesn't, to me, mean you still can't feel bad. You can feel bad. That's called a conscience.
Yeah. Like honestly, like the situation where if it's something where I had to do it, no, I'm not feeling bad about it. If I don't have to do it, then yeah, I'll feel bad about it. But if I'm in a situation where it's like it's either me or that, and I have to pick me, honestly, I'm not feeling bad about it. My conscience will be okay. And I know it sounds messed up, but personally, that's how I am.
Yeah, everybody.
I
Now,
think that
uh,
I think that
I
sometimes
wouldn't just put
Come on, Taylor.
myself in a situation where it's like, okay, I know this is going to weigh bad on my consciousness, so I'm not even going to put myself in a situation in a position to even do that. But if I know there's no risk to my consciousness, like, okay, just another day.
I think where I see, having to make a decision and weigh on your conscience more is like, and this might be a little bit off topic in general, but I think it comes up more is when you have to cut somebody off for your own good. Like, that don't mean you wanted to say, you know, screw that person. I can't, like, I'm done with them, or you wanted anything bad to happen to them. But at the end of the day, you had to choose like me or you, and we can't both be in the same area. And you know, that doesn't make it feel great. I've had to send messages like that, like, bro, I just can't. You got to exit my life, or I got to exit yours. That doesn't mean you still don't feel bad about it, even if you know you did nothing wrong, or even if you know you did something wrong but you tried to work it out, like whatever it may be, you still gonna feel bad about it in some shape or form, because it's like the fact that you had to get to that point and make that call. And I think that's where a lot of people feel bad. It's like making that call doesn't make it easy. It just makes it like, oh, did I make the right call? Like you start second guessing yourself.
You
I agree.
know, same. I agree with that because I've done that multiple times, and it's just like the reason we second guess is because you can tell that if you cut somebody off because of their negative behavior, at some point you got to realize that they were like that because you're already not around. So you kind of bring that balance out of their negativity, where it's like they'd be like, oh, because I'm around, I'm not going to do this. But once you cut the person off, I realized like if I cut somebody off knowing that they're imbalanced and they got worse, and you see that they're still around them same other peers, then it's like that's where that second guessing comes, because you probably didn't see the outcome of the cutoff.
Yeah, I feel like all of it falls in line with the whole notion of people don't tend to apologize for the sake of them realizing they did something wrong. They apologize because they got caught. And that's pretty much where this whole topic stemmed from, where it's like people have a tendency of, I mean, granted, the topic stemmed from, you know, doing stuff out of the kindness of your heart or doing stuff for the sake of you being around or the convenience of it. Like, yeah, but at the same time, it falls in line with the whole, I don't apologize because I'm sorry. I apologize because I got caught. That's why it's like when you come to like a lot of kids situations where it's like you discipline a child and they apologize, but you always have to say, apologize like you mean it. They don't mean it because they're not apologizing because they did it. They're apologizing because you caught them do it. Like that's why it's like we got to start figuring out how to attack things from the source instead of attacking things just based on what we were taught through generation to generation to generation, because we're all different. That rule of saying you're gonna, because there have been times where I didn't threw a rock at somebody's head in elementary school or something, and then they be like, oh, apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. Apologize like you mean it. I'm gonna do it again. Because as soon as I go out the room, I'm throwing this, I got another rock in my pocket. It's another rock right here. And everybody knew me when I was young. I used to keep rocks in my pocket. That's all I kept in my pocket when I was young. Rocks. Like, so don't make it like, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, that's exactly the point.
It's only my bad not to laugh like that, because it's funny because like after like our first 2 years of me and Jeff knowing each other, I remember one day he pulled out a rock. I was like, bro, you do that too? And I pulled out a rock. And I was like, well, I said, what you keep your rock for? And he's like, just in case I need to hit somebody with it. I was like, oh, I just collect them, but that's a good idea too. It's like, like I get what he's saying, but you're gonna do it again.
That's what I'm
It's like
saying.
apologize for your initial action, not the fact that somebody told you to apologize.
Correct.
I think
So,
like as you get older, it shows more growth when you're the one that apologizes without anybody prompting you.
correct.
Like
That's what I'm
if
getting
I
at.
call if I call somebody and you know I said something crazy, it might take me a second sometimes, but I might just hit that like, you know, you might not be irritated, but I feel like I kind of said something left field, so I'm gonna go ahead and apologize. Now,
Correct.
the thing that you have to be careful of with that is that people who are like that, who are willing to apologize without being prompted, sometimes it goes back to that kindness isn't a weakness thing, because if you're the one always apologizing, what are you even apologizing for anymore? Because I've had my own family, my own friends who have looked at me and been like, stop apologizing for something that's not your fault. But that's my own potential trauma, and that's my own like issues where like I'm just like, okay, I have to take fault for this and go ahead and apologize, whether I was prompted to or not. So if you know you're one of those people that are tending to apologize, whether you're the one in the wrong or not, unprompted, because you're the one trying to make things better, sometimes stop and think about why you're apologizing. is it actually something you did worth apologizing for, or are you just apologizing for the situation and the reason that person got mad, even though you can't stop that?
Actually, I had a point that I wanted to bring up. Putting the effort.
So long.
Wait, what happened?
It took you so long to unmute. It's funny. All you see is 10 seconds.
Hey, it wasn't my fault. My phone was acting slow.
What you got?
But yeah,
Your phone 80 miles away from your face. I go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead.
but yeah, putting effort into the thought that counts. And I'm pretty sure it's been many times where somebody was doing something for you and they knew it wasn't exactly up to snuff of what you would have preferred it or what they would have preferred for you. And they can see that you visibly have a problem with it, but you don't want to say anything. So, and they will respond to you with your verbal or with your nonverbal communication saying, oh, well, it's the thought that counts. But if it's the thought that counts, why was there no effort put into the thought? You didn't think about the thought. Why not? If I'm let's say I'm on my high school soccer team, and let's say you my parent and whatnot. Christmas, you get me socks rather than getting me soccer ball or maybe a goalpost. And yeah, I understand. Yeah, sometimes it's okay. You don't have the funds for it, but if you can get it, why just get me something that says, "Hey, I got you something. I'm checking the block," rather than getting something that would either be useful and practical or desired by me. There was no thought about what I would need or what I would want put into those actions. You just wanted to do something for the sake of doing something. Now you're seeking self gratification through your good deeds towards others. And is a good deed really a good deed if you're doing it for the sole purpose of being happy because others are happy? Like, there's nothing wrong with making other people happy, but if you're doing so just because it makes you happy, then you're not really being generous. It's a generous spirit with a selfish mentality.
Correct. I was gonna say something real quick. Welcome to the club, Taylor. Yeah, she know what we did last time. That's what she. Oh yeah, yeah. Welcome to the club.
Hey yo.
But Daryl be huffing and puffing for like 10 seconds, and then he'll get back to his point, and I'll be thinking he's done because he don't make a face like he's done. He makes a face like he's done. Just make a face like I got more to say. He's like, and so then tomorrow I'm like, good Lord, I thought you was done. But yes, and all this is staying in the episode, by the way. It's funny. But real quick for you, if you say what you got to say, like, so for me, it's like when it comes to gift giving, first of all, I don't like gifts. I don't like gifts. I don't like people giving me gifts. It's weird. And the reason why I give gifts for people is because I'm checking the box. I don't give people gifts out of the kindness of my heart because I don't get gifts. First of all, well, I kind of do. I guess I do because I'm doing it. If I didn't want to do it, I wasn't going to do it. But if somebody gets me a gift, most of the time I feel like I'm inclined to just give you a gift. That's more so checking the box. But it's like, because people, you said what now?
I said, okay, Sheldon.
But because it's like me not being a person that gets gifts, it's hard for people to make a gift decision for me. So they're like, I know Jeff don't really want this, but I guess I'll just give anything. Now, in the age I'm at now, I love me some socks. Like, the range can go from a toy to a sock.
That is a man thing, because all three of y'all in perfect sync just went, oh yes, a sock.
Because when you're young, you don't want socks. But when you get old, you're like, man, socks are expensive.
That is a man thing. I'm specifically saying man for a reason, because I mean when you're older. All of y'all all the time want some socks.
But to be fair, for us three, we're born in the colder season. So we need them socks as gifts. We need them socks.
In the snow.
Yeah, I just like socks.
Everybody don't gotta know that.
Socks are the only thing I will go. Socks are one of the only items I will go to a clothing store and forget to buy. I could need socks. My feet can be hanging out of my sock. as I'm going into the store, and I would still forget to get socks. It's such an motivating part of your body you cover up. So it's like, I don't really think about it. Like, I will legit put Vaseline on my knees until I get to like my shin, and then the sock line is like, I got socks on. So I don't think about my feet too much in the sense of like, other than washing my feet, I don't really think about my feet. So socks are
Right.
very important to me. So, because if people get me socks, I'm excited, but I would never get myself socks. It's
Right. Like honestly, I hate socks. If I could go without socks, I would. But it's also uncomfortable to not have it. So
I
if
love being barefoot.
I'm gonna wear something on my feet, I'm gonna wear something comfortable. Like it's for the same reason that why if I get a house, I'm going with carpet over hardwood floors. I want comfort underneath my feet. Do I like socks? No, but they're comfortable.
Yeah, I like socks, but it's like, I mean, I like walking barefoot.
I just like
I'd rather
socks.
have socks. I just like socks. I like designer socks, not designer socks. I like custom socks, like socks with different fonts on, like commercial socks like that. Like I like things like that. So I feel like I'm a collector of like weird exotic socks. That's just me. Every
Yeah.
time you see me, if y'all see me in public, get to know us. But if you see me in public, you're gonna see me with different socks on pretty much almost all the
Yeah.
time. But yeah, so back to what we were talking about. When it comes down to like gift giving and stuff like that, like I understand what you're saying when it comes down to like people doing stuff for the simple fact of like checking a box, but it's hard to get gifts for people, and sometimes people don't really want to get gifts. They just get you a gift because it's a seasonal thing. Like I said, a lot of these holidays now are commercialized. Like I don't think of any holiday and think, "Ooh, let me do like you like let me get you a gift." That's me. But you got people that like are so quick to get you stuff or do stuff just for the sake of a day, like Valentine's Day. I love somebody. Why don't you love me every other day? Christmas, let me get you a gift. Why can't you give me flowers or something you see in the store today because you see it? But I'm the kind of person that do that. Like I would legitimately buy somebody flowers just for this. You can literally be at work bored and be like, we get somebody some flowers. Like that's just me. It's like that's just how I am. But and then we gotta understand this too before you go, Taylor. It's like we gotta understand this too. There are more than likely less people on the planet that think the way you think than you think. So you got to consider what this whole circle situation is when it comes to this Normalize You project. We're trying to get people to understand that people are different because 99% of the time, everybody you run into is going to be different. Even if y'all have similarities, even if y'all have things that y'all agree with, even if y'all have things that y'all function with together, the majority of that person's rest of their life is completely different from yours. Hold on real quick before y'all go. Taylor's about to say something.
I was just gonna say, as the person that enjoys finding a gift to give somebody, that I think it kind of goes to Darion's point of like, it is a thought put behind it, because I know several people that I'm like, oh, you told me something about you don't often get gifts, nobody cares about you on the holidays. I now want to show you that somebody cares. So I'm not just going to get you a gift, I'm going to get you a gift that I think you will like. And once you're in my gift giving list, that's what I'm doing. That doesn't mean for me that I'm not showing you attention or doing something random like getting you dinner or something from the store throughout the year. But now that this special day is here, oh, that's my excuse to do something even more extra for you.
Right.
So for instance, my mother is a big book person. All she cares about every day is like put some money on my Amazon, like put some books on my Kindle. I'll do that randomly just because I'm like, hey, I thought about you. So when it comes to Christmas time, now I'm like, nah, let me get her something I know she's been like nagging over. So like last Christmas, I got her a mixer. And she was like, I didn't even think about this. How did you remember this? And I'm like, yeah, you complained for 2 months about how you couldn't make your creme brulee like you wanted to, or whatever it was. So it's like, if you know that there is a way to still give somebody a gift even for those commercialized holidays, but still put thought behind it. Because if it's Valentine's Day, 9 times out of 10, I'm not getting somebody chocolate.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody got me chocolate, that's different. I'm a chocoholic. I love my chocolate. But if I'm getting something for somebody else, I'm probably not getting them chocolate. I'm probably getting them a card. I'm probably getting them, something that I know means more to them. One of my best friends loves getting cards, and she literally saves them all. So I'm gonna find a card that means something and then give it to her.
Yeah, but you got people out here that legitimately like my bad, Darren, hold up. You got people out here that legitimately only want to check boxes. You got people like Now, granted, kids to decide, because when it comes down to like parents buying kids their gifts, it's kind of weird because you think, especially if you're not like a super high income type of parent, it's like, all right, I want to get you what you want, but I'm not trying to waste $1,000 on something you're about to outgrow in 2 weeks. So that at that point becomes a check in the box situation. It's like I'm checking the box, I'm getting you a gift. It may not be what you want, but I'm getting you a gift. Um, but when it comes down to like adults, like those that are able to make a decision, a legal decision, it's like treat others the way you want to be treated. If I'm checking the box, it's a reason why I'm checking the box. Like, what are you doing to be rewarded of this gift that I'm giving you? And of course, people look at the word reward as, oh, that means you're pretty much like giving me, like I'm trying to give you all the power, or I gotta do stuff for you. And like reward, yeah, in a sense, a reward does mean that you did something and then you're rewarded for that something. But it's like, what do you do to make me feel good about, like I said, randomly sending you flowers, randomly doing this, randomly doing that? You need something, you go ask you about to buy food. I'm like, all right, I got you. Like something like that. Like what makes me want to do that all the time? But if you're with somebody or around somebody that's not doing that, sometimes it's not just them, it's you. But actually, it is all the time you. It's always you, because it's either you because you did something to them, or if you see this person still doing this to you, you still around. So the answer is always you. So you're always the you. I'm the you, they're the you, they're the you. You are you. You are the reason why something bad keeps happening to you, because either you're doing it and making that person respond to you in the way they responded to you, or the fact that you're just still around knowing that this person keeps doing this bad behavior. It's always you. That's the whole point of this process. It's always you. If you're around something you don't want to be around, move or change your behavior.
And to anybody out there, I'm not saying go ahead and just be ungrateful because you feel like you deserve a better gift. Because it doesn't necessarily constitute just gifts. It could be an idea about something, honestly. It doesn't have to be like, oh, well, you're physically giving me something. It could be a request, an idea, or just simply an action that you're doing for somebody. Yeah, if you're gonna go, if you're the giver, if you're gonna go out of your way to do it, put some thought behind it. But if you're receiving it, yeah, it's understandable to want other people to put some thought behind it, but also understand that generosity goes a long way too. So it's not an excuse just to be like, oh, well, I don't like what you did, or I don't like this, or I don't need this, I don't want this. You ruined my life, get out in peace. No, just be grateful that you got something because you didn't have to get it. Yeah, that is a thought that counts. But if you're going to give it, put thought into the thought that counts. Make it worth the effort.
All right, Mike.
I guess I'll go back to something Darion said before this initial response, where it's just like my personal belief is that no one can make another person happy, but you can be happy enough that you can bring joy to another person. Whereas it's like, I believe that each person should find their own happiness, but also aside from that, they should find other ways to bring joy to others, to see if that joy can give that person an idea of their own happiness. Because like, you can't really just make another person happy, but you can continue to treat a person the way you want to be treated, and they can still turn around and be the opposite.
Yeah, I understand where you're going with that statement, because I've said that a lot growing up, where I was like, I can't be responsible for your happiness. Like I can't say that people don't make each other happy, because I can make somebody
Right.
happy. I get what you're saying. Because
Right.
and by I can't be responsible for your happiness means I can do things to make you happy. I can be a reason why you're happy. But your traumas, your pain, the things that you've been through, the fact that you're not happy with yourself, I can't be responsible for that, because that's something that you have to battle before you before you invite somebody else into your mind. So I
Yeah.
can be a lot of the reason why you are happy. I can do things for you. I can talk to you. I can listen to you. I can coddle you. Those are actions in which can make you happy. But if you are overall not happy with yourself, that's not my responsibility. My responsibility is to get you to be confident, to get you to be courteous, to get you to feel like you're intelligent, to get you to feel like everything is you. And if that doesn't work, then at that point, there's literally nothing I can do because I'm not you. You know, so I get what you're saying. But anybody want to add anything? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Real quick, Darion.
I don't remember exactly if we said this, but if we did, we brought it up briefly either in this episode or a previous one. But doing a good deed for others without expecting a reward in return.
Yeah.
Basically, we have to get into, well, I don't want to say we have to, but I've noticed a lot that a lot of people in society, especially seeing on social media, they'll do something for somebody and then get mad that the favor wasn't returned. We get it. You didn't have to do that. But here's the bigger question. Are you mad because they didn't do it? Or are you mad because you were expecting them to actually return the favor?
Yeah, a lot of people are. It's like, I feel like you should speak up at the beginning. Like, when I ask y'all to do something, I'd be like, hey, Mike, you feel like coming over, help me move a dresser? If I don't say anything else, I feel like it would be wrong. First of all, I shouldn't want to offer you something. But if Mike doesn't respond with, because a lot of people also think that it's a bad thing if I ask for something in return. Like, if one of y'all hit me up and I like legitimately didn't know you, and you'd be like, hey, can you help me do blah, blah, blah? And I would say, because I've been saying this a lot when I was younger. I used to always, matter of fact, better example, I used to want to go somewhere. I can't say all of what I asked for in response, but when y'all was to be like, hey, Jeff, can you run me down the street to such and such house? Either I get gas, y'all give me food, or something better be there for me when I get there. That's always my response. That was always my response when I was younger. Like, so that's what that's what they're prepared for. So now if they get out of my car and I'm like this, it's no longer me just doing something for somebody in response to getting something back. I already laid down the ground rules before we even had this action. You see what I'm saying? But I get what you're saying there, where it's like a lot of people, they just do stuff just for the sake of like, oh, I thought you were gonna give me something. I was like, just what happened to y'all doing stuff for the sake of like being neighborly? Because I tell all the time, your best people quick to call 911. Your best 911 is your neighbor. If something happened to your house, something happened to your kids, you're not there, something happened to your house on fire or something, or somebody breaking into your house, you want your neighbor to be on it. So don't do anything to mess up your neighbor. Like, what?
Yeah, like I actually got a light little story about that. So, in my old neighborhood when I used to live across the street from my high school, y'all know where it is. Well, Mike and Jeff do.
The ghetto.
On my block, I would always cut the grass of all the rest of my neighbors, and they knew that I did. Usually, I'd go to the door, ask them if they wanted me to cut their grass. You know, they usually pay me for it. And I remember one of the times when I was just starting out doing it, I just randomly cut everybody's grass on the whole block. I'm like, oh, I mean, y'all ain't gonna pay me for it. And granted, it's not like I got any harsh punishment for it, but I definitely got told like, yo, you can't just do nice things for other people just because you wanted to do it and then expect them to reward you for it. Like if you were doing a service, let people know like, hey, I'm doing a service. Would you like the service? And then proceed to take your payment once it's been advertised and they agree. But you can't just randomly do it and expect them to compensate you for it.
It's true.
That is 100% true, but why? Why can't you do nice things just because with no expectancy? Like, but just why? Why can't you just do something? Like, why does a person like, I feel like that's a negative response to a person doing something good just because, even as a kid, right? Where you expected compensation because you did this yard work, you know that it's hot, you know that you out there sweating, you know that like a bottle of water or something. But still it's just like, why not?
Correct. But the moral of this whole entire episode is just try to do things in the sense of like just being generous and being kind versus doing stuff just because you were caught. And if you are caught, like have some remorse. You know, like if the people that do the catching, don't just point your finger and be like, ha ha, I caught you. It's like what have a conversation with these people and try to figure out why they're doing it. Because also a lot of things that people don't realize, and I don't want to make up a new conversation, we'll bring it up in another episode, is people do things for reasons that you have no idea. Some people be living in a situation that you're not familiar with. Some people are worse off than you are. So 90% of the time, there's a reason why people are doing it. It's not just they're doing it. So find out why. And we may or may not discuss that in another episode, just depending on how everything goes. But on that note, it's been another episode of Normalize You, and we're out.
Thanks for watching Normalize You. And don't forget to catch me every other Friday with your question of the week. And you can send in questions as well. Please reach out on our social media or our email and send us your questions, your topics, your responses. We actually do read them. Hope to see you there.